What is going on, guys? My name is 4G. So today I wanted to make a video going over some bugs when it comes to Fortnite OG because there's seemingly more and more all the time, and I don't exactly know what's going on with this particular mode. Maybe Epic Games is just completely swamped with how much they have to deal with. There's so many different modes in this game, so dealing with all of them, fixing the bugs, updating the game, and getting that all connected, I don't exactly know. Maybe there's some problems going on over there because I recently found out about a bunch of different bugs in this game. The first one that I found myself by basically just playing a match of Fortnite OG. I hopped in and I realized that I have higher ping than normal, and quite a bit higher actually, for being completely real. I usually have about 10 ping on NA West, and now I have 50 ping on NA West. And here's the thing, this is not an internet thing, this is not a computer thing, none of that. It is literally only in Fortnite OG. If I go to reload, if I go to even save the world, the ping drops a lot. I get in Fortnite reload about 10 ping on average. Obviously, it depends on the particular match, the server, whatever it might be. But in this situation, I usually have a very low ping for what it is. It might not be quote-unquote zero or where people live basically on top of the server, but it is still a really good ping in comparison to 50. And there's definitely something wrong with this because it's not just me who is coming across this. As I've seen here, there is a lot of other people who have this problem, and it's not really that big of a deal if we're just talking about, oh, it's 50 ping. If everybody had around 50 ping, then it wouldn't really be that big of a deal, right? Assuming that everyone is also having this problem. Maybe that's not how it works. I don't exactly know, because it's not 100% consistent that it just gives you higher ping. We'll get into that in a second. But this is actually a pretty big problem when you're playing with people who aren't always going to be on the same server. So if you're playing with someone in EU, for an example, but you're in NA, well, you're going to already have that higher ping, but now it may be even higher. Now, I don't know if this is a visual bug. I don't exactly know because it's kind of hard for me to test, because if I go to a different server, it's going to feel laggy in general regardless, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint. So like I said, it might just be a visual bug, but I don't know why it would only be a visual bug in the OG mode. So I don't think it is just a visual bug. I think that there is something happening on the server side with the particular OG mode that is increasing the latency between the server and the client. But either way, going over to it not being consistent, let's talk about this real quick. I actually went over to NA East, which I normally would get around 80 ping, around that. Today, with my testing, I actually got 50 ping on NA East as well. So there's something wrong here. I don't exactly know what's going on. It almost feels like there's some sort of weird artificial cap on the ping, but that still doesn't make sense because now I have an even better ping than I normally would have on NA East. But that can't be accurate because how am I getting 50 ping on NA East and NA West when I normally get 10 ping on NA West? So this just doesn't make sense whatsoever, and I don't know what's going on. I couldn't tell you. I just wanted to inform people of this because this is not something I see talked about very much. I do see a couple people mentioning it, but it's not really a big thing. So maybe this video would encourage someone else to look into it, someone who is more knowledgeable, to figure out if this is a visual bug or if it's an actual problem. And even better, if Epic Games themselves could potentially see this. They're not going to, but in a hypothetical world, if they did, and then they could potentially look into it, that would be nice. But I also wanted to add a couple other bugs that I saw over on Twitter. So there was an entire thread pretty much talking about how this update introduced a lot of bugs into Fortnite OG, and let's just get right into them real quick. I'm not gonna go into them too deeply, but I wanted to still read them off and go into it because I feel like this is pretty important when it comes to Fortnite OG. But regardless, the heavy shotgun has the wrong equipped and reload sound is fully automatic, while it's meant to be semi-auto, has the wrong sight mesh color, and cannot pierce players. The next thing that is wrong with this currently is the remote explosives deal 100 damage, have the wrong explosive radius, have the wrong max stack size, and drop in stacks of 3 instead of 4. The next thing is the tactical SMG no longer has any firing audio at all and still has not received the buffs it should have gotten in Season 2. I do think that this is probably, out of everything so far, this is the most problematic thing. I mean, how can it have no audio whatsoever? That's a pretty big bug in my opinion. That is pretty game breaking. Well, not game breaking, but you know what I mean. If you're trying to use that weapon and there's just no audio whatsoever, that is kind of odd. And also, the whole point of OG is it's supposed to be authentic, so when this particular weapon still has not been buffed, it can't really be that authentic if we're not keeping things up to date with how it should be. Now, the next thing is some bushes on the map now do this, where they basically have the wrong mesh and material, and they kind of flicker from what I can tell, and yeah, that is definitely not something that we need to be seeing. Something that is more minor, but it's still a problem, is birch trees no longer animate. When hit, they will animate for a very short amount of time, and that's it. That is all. And lastly, there could be vending machines with only shotgun shells in them, which from what I remember, you could not buy ammo within vending machines back in the day. And realistically, who actually would spend a bunch of materials on getting some shotgun shells? That's definitely a bug, and it needs to be fixed. There was also a bug with the guided missile where pretty much if you were to shoot the guided missile, sometimes it wouldn't actually come out of the launcher itself. It would shoot off to the side, and depending on if there was a wall or not, you would end up hitting yourself instead. And apparently from what I've heard, this was the original bug that got the guided missile removed in the first place back 6 years ago. So the fact that it's still in the game nowadays is kind of crazy to me. And the thing that's crazy about this is not the fact that they reused the guided missile and it happened to have this bug again, is the fact that I thought that they remade the guided missile from scratch in order to get it back in the game, but apparently not. I think all of these things need to be fixed, and the biggest problem with all of these different minor bugs is because they add up over time, and when they add up over time, they create a inferior experience in comparison to even other modes that do not have all of these problems, because I guess there's probably a bigger team working on these other modes. That would be my guess. But when it comes to OG, the thing that I'm really thinking of, maybe it doesn't work this way, but in my head, the way it would work is if it is a permanent mode where we get to the end of season 10 and then we just go back to season 1, could they not just set something up so that it is basically on a cycle? And maybe this will happen over time. Maybe they will iron out all these different problems and it will be a lot better in the long run. But you know what? If we don't talk about this stuff and we don't point out the flaws of Fortnite OG, it will never be improved, and that would suck. But if this was a cycle and they actually ironed out all these different problems, well then it could just probably be automatic that every single time we get a new season, it's the exact specific loot pool with all the damage values and all that is already set up. All of that is ready to go. Again, maybe that's easier said than done. Maybe that's not exactly how it is. But if you look at Save the World, for an example, that's pretty much how it works. Every single year, we have the exact same seasons, the exact same events for the most part. And when it comes down to it, it is pretty much on a cycle. And I think that they could do the exact same thing with Fortnite OG. And that is why I make these videos. I want them to improve upon this mode, and so that we can get it to a point where they no longer need to really worry about it. Maybe there'll be a couple minor bugs here or there that, you know, from newer updates that somehow affect this mode, but I don't think that anything like this where we're having completely different damage values and shotgun shells and vending machines and just all these random things that just don't even make sense. Like, I'm trying to picture how from a development standpoint these kinds of things happen. I don't understand. I guess Fortnite is just that big of a project that pretty easy to mess up. I don't exactly know. But regardless, what do you guys think about this? Do you think that these things need to be fixed? I mean, I think the ping thing, if it's not a visual bug, definitely needs to be fixed. That is absolutely a game-breaking situation if we're being completely real. I don't think you should have higher ping when you realistically could have a fraction of that ping. Especially in this game, it really makes a difference. And if that's not something that happens for everybody in the lobby, like I'm assuming right now that it is something that is happening server-sided, like I said. So if it's not like that, and then maybe some people have lower ping, well, now you're at an even bigger disadvantage. And unlike just moving closer to the server or, you know, actual problems when it comes to your actual location on the planet, obviously that's not something Epic Games can fix. But when it's being caused by something like this, yeah, that definitely needs to be fixed. But anyways, that is gonna wrap up this video. What do you guys think about this? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. And if you guys enjoyed this video, a like would be greatly appreciated. If you're new here and you like videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.